Here we go.
I'm not a progressive, I'm a Democrat. What does that mean? What is that distinction? Because I don't think I've used the word progressive. I think I've said woke. I think there's a big difference between woke, and I know that word triggers a lot of people because it had a great beginning as a meaning, but words migrate, and it went to something else. I think there's a big difference between an old school liberal and a woke person. You say progressive Democrat. How do you describe this?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like I've just say, and I've been saying that for years, actually. I said that, I didn't leave the label. It left me.
How did it leave you, Johnny boy? How did it leave you? I guess 25,000 dead women and children who have been massacred wasn't enough. And again, we're talking about numbers that we cannot quantify because we do not have full access via the free press. Journalists are being murdered by the IDF, right? I mean, you do know that. But this idea that he was somehow this masterful progressive, no. He used what he needed to use to his advantage for political cannon fodder, and it worked. That's all there is to it. He got himself into the United States Senate. Is it going to keep him there? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But he got there because he convinced people that he was the right option as a progressive. And of course, he was the lieutenant governor, and that name ID and being aware was a big part of why he was able to win. In this case, whenever he has an opportunity to show up the Free Palestine protesters, he's always decked out and tied very tight with his Israel flag, just as he was at the Florida Democratic Party gala in Orlando about a month ago. And of course, he did it with Wasserman Schultz cheering 4 more years right in front of the protesters who were basically trying to show him that he was wrong. Of course, what does he care? We'll continue.
That.
Right.
And that really, after it happened on October 7th, I was really knew that that whole progressive stack would be blasted apart, and there's not going to be any kind of way how the Democrats are going to be able to reply to that kind of, respond to that kind of. And I really decided early on that I believed that was going to be the right side with Israel throughout all of that. And I knew that would going to be Democrats would continue to peel away and kind of walk away from standing with Israel on that. But that's where I decided after.
How do you explain that, if you can, that the people who consider themselves the most liberal have abandoned Israel, which was always a liberal darling, for the people?
Abandoned Israel, which is always the liberal darling? It's occupied territory. You see, the thing about this particular issue that is becoming the most difficult to listen to, especially with the likes of Bill Maher and others, they still want to pretend that the Nakba didn't actually happen, that there were people that were killed over the course of many years. Does anybody know about the history of the USS Liberty? Or do people forget about that as well? You see, you have revisionist history, Bill Maher and John Fetterman. And it is amazing how wax poetic they want to be. As if to suggest that everything that they're talking about can't be refuted. And of course it can, but they don't care. And the reason they don't care is because they're still convinced that being on the side of the Israel lobby is where society is going to stay, and they want to remain in good standing with the powers that be. For the time being, in the short term, it's probably a good move. But in the long run, they will. John Fetterman and Bill Maher are two people in particular that are never going to live down their encouragement of this genocide. And they have actively supported what Israel is doing, full stop.
Terrorist organization, the people who outwardly say they want a genocide, who outwardly are the one side of this who is against the two-state solution. Somehow they wound up with them. Why do you think that is? And will this split the Democratic Party?
Well, it does, because there's an appeal there, and I think you talk about that. Like last week, you really hit with the gender apartheid.
Yes.
And talking about a lot of these issues, and some of the most progressive and left parts of the Democratic Party are standing, for the kind of side that have kinds of organizations like Hamas or these kind of nations that there are no rights for
It's as if they don't want to pretend that Gaza is an open air prison. It's also true that they are just completely loose with the truth, as I like to say. And look, I know people are going to joke about the fact that Fetterman was in a car accident today. What matters to me is that he's a lousy representative, as are, unfortunately, most at the federal level. This is a big problem. This is a generational problem. The amount of bloodshed, the amount of trauma, it is beyond the pale at this point. And he sits there talking about what the real left is. No, look, the real left is the labor left. And the head of the UAW, Sean Fain, says that it is a genocide and he stands with the Palestinian people. That's what a real left, populist, progressive is all about. I don't know what the hell you think you are, and I don't know what the hell Bill Maher thinks he is, but whatever they are, I ain't that, and neither should anybody else be.
For women, and they certainly don't embrace the LGBTQ kinds of lifestyle. And then even in Philadelphia, the Queers for Palestine blocked the Pride parade in Philadelphia, and I never saw that on the bingo card.
See, this is the thing that I talked about with Yulene regarding where people just don't give a shit about politics anymore, because when you start talking about something like this, it's obvious that you do not have a winning talking point. You just revert to the woke language, the issues that end up becoming completely divisive. These are wedge issues that they're talking about. They have no real value in the political discourse. It's used as, again, it's just a crutch. Ooh, Palestinians don't like LGBTQ people. They don't persecute them. And Israel doesn't accept interracial marriage, interfaith marriage. That's a fact. But, pick one side and stick to it. And you'll keep getting your corporate special interest money to fund your career, because that's what he's hoping for. And that's the same thing that Bill is hoping for with the amount of money he makes every year working with HBO. That's how it works. There's no compass here. I don't believe in anything. This is just, again, this is the unveiling of the mask. This is where we are. It's a despicable set of circumstances in terms of where we stand today. And I could not be any more direct. And I thought that I was from the very beginning when this first went down. I didn't think it would get as bad as it did, but the truth is that the Zionist movement in some respects is in its death throes. They're never going to be able to walk this back. They're never going to be able to say it was justified. Never. And if you want to know what the ultimate moment in protest in American history may end up looking like, it's when Netanyahu shows up to speak on the congressional floor on July 24th.